I'll tell you today, if it weren't for the Kids Center and the great work that goes on there, I don't know what we would do. The Kids Center is important to law enforcement because normally we're the people that people call for help. We call the Kids Center when we need help.
We spend probably 75–80% of our time dealing with different instances of child sex abuse and physical abuse.
Well, the problem of child abuse in Central Oregon is significant. We have children as young as infants that are abused. We have teenagers that are abused. We have physical abuse and sexual abuse in our community. And until it ends, it is a severe problem.
In 2012, we referred approximately 57 cases to the Kids Center. The vast majority of those, approximately 37, were for sexual abuse of a child.
Child abuse is a significant and serious issue in Crook County. We get approximately 1 case a week, either physical or sexual abuse.
We have had some very battered and broken babies. It's been, in my opinion, just grace that saved us from having a fatality.
Sometimes it gets overlooked because we are in Central Oregon and people tend to minimize the problem because they don't think it exists in a smaller community, but it's absolutely here.
Without Kids Center, we'd be in a place where we wouldn't have one resource to send kids that we know is going to be people who are compassionate, who understand how to care for kids in this setting, who are going to take care of the family as well as the kid, who have all the other resources in the community to help them out.
So without Kids Center, if a child were to make a disclosure of abuse, they'd most likely have to be interviewed by law enforcement, by a caseworker, by the district attorney, by a doctor, and sometimes the list goes on. With Kids Center, we provide a location that's comfortable and child-friendly for kids to come to talk about what's happened to them, and that happens just one time.
What the Kids Center does is provide a child-friendly location where a trained forensic examiner can have the child give their statement one time, satisfying the needs for prosecution.
Obviously, you look at a guy like myself, 6'1", 250-pound big guy, and I'm talking to a 3 or 4-year-old little girl about what her brother or dad or friend did to her. The contact just isn't there. Without the Kids Center, we would miss out on a lot of those reports and a lot of the information we receive from those kids.
So I saw 5 children under the age of 3.5 months at the hospital who had either head injuries, broken bones, retinal hemorrhages, oral injuries, really significant physical abuse cases that at a much younger age than I had ever seen before here.
My first patient was a 4-month-old who had multiple rib fractures, bruises all over, and had multiple wounds to the back of his mouth, and the tongue really ripped from the floor of his mouth because he was so badly abused.
I think one of the more recent worst cases that I've had, that I've been a part of, was the case of I want to say a 4 or 5-year-old young girl being sexually abused by her grandfather over a period of 2 years.
We had a case here in Crook County that continues to bother me to this day. When officers arrived, the 8-week-old baby was not breathing. Essentially, he was dead.
You know, there's a picture of a child who's been burnt by a Bic lighter by, a boyfriend. And you just sort of think, how does that happen? How does it get to that? How does he not realize what he's doing to the child? And, the hope is that we're there to give voice to that child where he has none.
Today in court, I was with a child who had to listen to an offender blame her for the abuse. She was 12 years old.
I don't know if I'm shocked as much anymore as I am just saddened by the way we treat people in general, specifically how we treat children. And the more I hear it, the more it makes me want to protect children, which is my job.
I think it's no longer acceptable to just say this is a family matter or we're not going to talk about it because it's our dirty little secret. People have learned, and Kids Center has been a very big part of that education, that sexual and physical abuse is simply not acceptable.
I think Kids Center is truly a gift to our community. I've certainly worked in places that don't have a Kids Center, and the difference of what kids go through is really immense.
I think the value of therapy is hope. It allows, a chance for an individual to express the trauma that they've been through, but it also gives them a chance to be resilient and go on with their life and be productive and to have an opportunity to normalize their world after a tragic event.
What I love most about working for Kids Center is seeing the kids every day that despite telling us these horrible stories about what's happened to them, that they're incredibly resilient and they can still have a lot of joy and happiness and can heal and move on from these things that have happened to them. And for us, it truly is an honor to be a part of that first step towards healing and helping to lessen their trauma.
I would say to people that are thinking about supporting financially the Kids Center that there's not much better place that you could put your money. It helps those who can't help themselves and who can't be recognized on their own.